Okay, here we are. It says that we're live. Welcome, Bushwhacking History, everybody. Berserker Bear and special guest, Toronto Jew Bear. As you can see on the screen, we have a presentation for you, like video log style, of the Canadian side of Niagara Falls new attraction, fairly new attraction, the tunnel, which is an old hydropower tunnel that you can walk through, as you can see. It wasn't accessible before, but it was like a year and a half ago, Neil.
Yeah, they opened it about a year and a half ago. Hi, everybody. Just want to say that they proved that anyone can get into Canada, because Dustin made his way across the bridge and swept right through, cross customs, no issues.
How dare you? But indeed, yeah, it was a while since I was there before. You'll hear it in the presentation. So this is going to be a video
the other thing I want to say, guys, before we go on, is that Dustin is legit 6 feet tall, guys. I don't know if you knew that. I know I was always under the impression that he was like Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro kind of height, but nope, this guy's legit 6 feet.
Well,
former football player.
And to pay a compliment back, you're taller than I thought, Neil. So there we go. But that was a great. Speaking of that was a great time, and it was good meeting you and shaking your hand. With the bear community, it's a big thing. So we crush it, and that was a long time coming, and it was a good time. And we're going to share it, right? So, right quick, let's do a little establishing shot. So, this is my stomping ground of my research area, pretty much Western New York. But as Neil just pointed out, I was in Canada recently. I just got my enhanced license re-updated, and I met Neil. What was that? The Mather Park. Now, if you're looking, if anybody. Enslaved by Truth, welcome. How you doing, man? How's the audio and how is this stuff coming through? If you don't mind, I appreciate it. But welcome to everybody in the chat. I'll be peeping back and forth. But anyway, so I have a lot of anomalies.
The Niagara River is the international border, by the way. Right down the middle of the river is Canada-U.S. border.
Right. As a matter of fact, I think you guys have more of the river, the border, but I digress. Yeah, so you got the Peace Bridge here. And Neil and I met at Mather Park, and then we checked out the foundations of the Peace Bridge, and then we took a ride along the river to the International Bridge. Now, this is my area of focus, along with the Western Door in general, west of the Genesee River. I say, a lot of people say boots on the ground, but I like to say field work because I get out in the field from behind the keyboard, and I promote books and everything. So, that's kind of what I do with my research now. It just doubled being able to get over to Canada. So again, real quick, this is going to be a video log of Neil and I meeting up at Mather Park, as you just seen, under the Peace Bridge, going to the International Bridge, and then the crescendo would be Niagara Falls and the power station and that tunnel that we just cited, which is what's the name of that power station off the top of my head? Neil, I can't think of it. I always forget it.
Well, right now it's called. Are you talking about the old Tartarian one that we're gonna look at? Because there's two of them. There's the one that's a little more upriver.
The one that we went to, the final destination.
Final destination right now is called the Niagara Ontario, or the Niagara Parks Ontario Power Plant. Originally, it was called what was it again? Rankin, there you go. The Rankin Power Plant, which was built 1901 to 1905, and it's right near Table Rock there, which is that outcropping there,
which you'll see in the video log. So again, the video log runs for 37 minutes. We're gonna see. I didn't put any music to it. I kind of chopped it down, and thanks for the heads up on that. And, chew the fat, because it would have been initially it was 59 minutes, and then I chopped it down some more and whittled it down. So we're going to see the video log of our progression through going to the Peace Bridge foundations, what I think is going on there, the International Bridge foundations, and then here. And then we come out literally on this little patio. That's what that is. I think that's it, right? Do we walk downstairs? Or is that before?
I think.
No, this is it right here.
Yeah, that's it.
That's okay. So we're gonna walk through the tunnel. You'll see it. I got GoPro HD, UHD footage, 4K UHD, which has been a pain in the you know what with the data. Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable how big those files are. But you're gonna see it all, and then afterwards, stick around because we're gonna talk about some anomalies that we have seen, or what we may think is going on with these tunnels on top of the old infrastructure, like stuff like this. I had those videos to play too, Neil, like the silent ones.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be awesome. That was a great, really good one. So I guess just as on a broad note, you know, what draws me and Dustin both to Niagara Falls is, I mean, we both grew up within. I mean, you within a very short distance of the falls. Me, you know, an hour, just over an hour away in Toronto. It's the international tourist destination of our cities, respective cities. And as historians, there's a lot in the official story to digest, because it's a battleground for war. It's a very sacred place for natives, and it's got in modern times it's a place where everybody needs to go for a honeymoon. Dustin and I were not on a honeymoon. Don't worry about that. But we were. But it's a place where it's become a worldwide wonder of the world, and yet a lot of the history I don't think really adds up. At least it's not. The explanations are not that satisfactory. So that's why it's a mystery wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in an enigma, and not that we have any secret knowledge here. We're kind of just exploring as amateur historians, but it's fun to peel back these layers and see what we can find.
Yeah, how interesting was it when you went home and you were doing a little bit of recapping, and you're looking for some more documentation on the data behind that anomalous building? And what was there, a fire or something before 1912? They don't have any more information available, or what was it?
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to that when we get to the sort of the story of the construction of these tunnels. But it was just very mysterious that the period of time that I wanted to get some affirmation on one of the details that they gave us. Turns out that there was a mysterious fire at the Niagara Library, and they lost all the copies of the Niagara newspapers from that first decade of the 20th century.
Naturally, but you're doing your follow up, and I run into that kind of stuff too. As I'm doing the data research on, for example, foundations of the International Bridge, the Peace Bridge, and that water intake. I mean, there's just so many things adding up as I go. The pier. There was a lot. I suspect that there was some terraforming of the Niagara River. And geez, wouldn't that be insane because of the ferocity of it and the cubic flow rate? We're going to learn all that afterwards. So
let's get to the videos for that stuff.
Let's get to the video. Okay, so this is going to run for 37 minutes.
You'll probably pause it at certain points, right?
What do you, though? If you want to, yeah, let me know. Because this is just a straight up video log, and there is no music. It might get maybe a little boring. So yeah, let's do that. If you want to, just let me know. Raise your hand. I'm just joking. Yeah, just say whatever, and then I'll stop it. So I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. And if anybody has some questions, please feel free. But without further ado, this is the video log of me meeting up with Toronto Joubert in Canada at Mather Park, Peace Bridge, International Bridge, and then the tunnels in Niagara Falls, Canada. What a great time. So here we go. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Bushwhacking history. Boom. Canada time. It's been since before the Novid hit that I was up here with my baby girl and my wife, my beautiful wife. So we're on Canada time now. Bushwhacking history coming to you from Canada. Gonna hit Fort Erie, the foundations of the Peace Bridge, International Bridge, then Niagara Falls, and the cave tunnels. Oh my word. Yeah, see. Oh my, wow, you got to be kidding me. Look at that. Yep. So is the video? Let me hop in the chat right quick because it does. I might have to play it. I loaded it up to YouTube. Again, this is a live presentation, y'all. So I apologize if there's any technical difficulties, but maybe in the chat. And yo, Archivist, good to see you, man. I appreciate you stopping by. Salty Dog, is the presentation choppy? Because I'm playing this from my media player, and again, it's got the 4K UHD GoPro. Shouldn't be lagging, but I do have it loaded up to YouTube, which is what I shared with you, Neil. So I wonder if I should play it on the YouTube or on the Windows media player.
Yeah, whatever choppy. This was a little choppy.
Yeah, so Archivist is saying it's choppy for sure. Thanks for the feedback, Philip says slightly.
Yeah, by the way, I'll just, while you're getting that queued up, this Mather Park is like under the Peace Bridge in Fort Erie, Ontario, which is directly across from Buffalo, and it's also at that funnel point of Lake Erie, where all the water from the entire Great Lakes watershed is funneled to this one point. And you'll see in a few minutes when we get proceed in the video how fast the current is there. It's unbelievably fast. We're talking 15, 20 miles an hour. And it's just raging water as all that water from the Great Lakes gets funneled into the Niagara River. And it makes you wonder, and Dustin will talk about this too, if the Niagara River is if the whole region is a terraformed region, where the water was purposely funneled in that into that very narrow gorge, whereas before perhaps it was a larger watershed, more marshy, perhaps more of a floodplain. Now they channeled all the water into that one area, harnessed it for power, and reclaimed other land. So that's kind of my working theory. I don't know if it's true, but if we're talking hundreds or even thousands of years of history, who knows what went on before our handed down history.
That's what I'm saying. The anomalies that I show here in up, in my neck of the woods where the Peace Bridge is and International. There's a lot of anomalies in the falls as well. We're going to see that. And sorry for the choppy nature, but Enslave EBT, I appreciate it, man. We're going to try to play it through.
And for those of you into the Tartarian and the Freemasonic stuff, this gateway arch here was built just before World War II, and it's got some serious Masonic sculpture on the front of it. I don't think you didn't include a picture there, but this sort of cherubim or kind of these female half Masonic, half Native Indian figures welcoming you to the peace area of Canada and USA.
I might have put them in there. All right, let's see here. So EBT says play it in the YouTube. Let's do that. And again, I appreciate your patience, y'all. It's been a minute since I've been live. Maybe I'll go back through and edit this. But thanks again for being here, Bushwhacking History. You're going to see some cool footage. Yeah, this actually looks like it's working. EBT, good looks. Let's hope and pray. You could see behind us. Yeah, the two cherubim almost, and the one was a little bit like masculine looking, but they both look like females.
But they had this flowing Indian style hair. It was kind of interesting.
Canada. There's Toronto Joubert.
Very cool.
See, I'm the only person there welcoming him to Canada. I'm kind of shocked actually at how Dustin didn't get a crowd coming across.
I mean, you guys didn't roll.
Man, I'll tell you what, these batteries go quick. I gotta bulk up on one. I'll be good. I'll be judicious about it.
How dare you?
So this is supposed to be 4K.
Yeah, let's get some footage. I take pictures with my camera, well, phone camera, which ain't bad.
It was about -2 degrees Celsius that day.
Of this part of this park be enjoyed by the people on both sides of the water to signify the blessings of lasting peace, and that only friendship and goodwill shall bridge the frontier between these two nations. There you go. Peace of Nations. This was written in 1939, and of course, 5 years later, not much peace. Maybe between Canada and the U.S., but not the rest of the world.
Not on the world stage. Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
this was really cool.
How amazing.
Carol Lindbergh says I can't.
All right, this is the convergence of.
Here you go, y'all.
Well, Niagara or Lake Erie going into Niagara River, and we're walking up to the Peace Bridge right now to get eyes on, from the Canadian side, the old mechanical water intake, the first mechanical water. Well, no, actually, yes, the first mechanical water intake for the city of Buffalo. Because otherwise, it was gravity from Forest Lawn Cemetery.
Okay, here we go.
Wow. Now you can see the power of the Niagara River even up here, not in the gorge.
We don't have that on the American side, right off the shore like that.
Look at that, dude.
You see how all of this shoreline is artificial. Now, you don't know how, whether it was just reinforced, the natural shoreline, or whether this is an engineered shoreline.
Well, we're going to have to look that over, like what I was showing you with the Grand Island Bridge. Look, or the Grand Island itself looks like it was a little bigger. So what did they do in this area infrastructure-wise is kind of what I'm getting at here. On top of the cool essence and the eerie nature of Buffalo and the greater western door in general.
That's it. Shout out
Tis the motivation.
Tis the motivation, indeed.
Look at that. There goes Neil for scale.
Get a sense of the current here, y'all.
There's the water intake.
Trying to get through that razor wire there. Big trouble.
I got half of mine to hop over this, but I got a lot of layers on. I'm not too nimble right now.
I would have got
because of the
there.
cold. But this is crazy. Wow, bro. This is what you call bushwhacking.
Yeah, you've driven over this a few times in your life.
Sure have. Never been underneath it like this though, actually.
Hey, by the way, Dustin, I think like post 9/11, we probably would have gotten questioned for just post 9/11. We would have got questioned and hauled in for just filming under the International Peace Bridge there.
Funny you bring that up, because in my sleuthing the International Bridge, which we're going to see in a second, I think you remember I posted it on Instagram. If you're in between my videos here, y'all, if you're listening to me, check me out on Instagram, because I post a lot there as well. What I'm doing, where I'm at, cultural takes, stuff like that, cool movies, yada yada. Okay, but in doing my research and follow up on this and reading up on the old school articles, shout out to again Archivist, because he does that stuff like with an extreme intent. He crushes it. But I was doing some follow up real quick on the International Bridge, and I learned that the Army Corps of Engineers did assist with doing some of the finding out of the bottom layout of the river in that area right by the International Bridge, so they could allegedly put the caissons there that may or may not have been there already as ruins. Who knows? Waterworks. But so I followed up and went to the Army Corps of Engineers and I went in there and tried to solicit information, and I was directed to the librarian via email. I got the email address, and this is all about follow-up. And I engaged with the librarian of the Army Corps of Engineers who had some contradictory information, understandably, but he said if we were involved with any bridge construction, it would be in the demolition of it. So maybe there's some conjecture there, but in the actual paperwork of that letter of the head engineer of the international bridge, he wrote to the Canadian magistrate, he did cite that they used the Army Corps of Engineers. So I followed up. They didn't have any information, and the gentleman told me if I wanted to get further info regarding the foundations, I got to do a FOIA request. And just like you said about 9/11, this guy's probably like, why are you inquiring about the foundations of the international bridge? It's like, I'm an independent researcher and stuff like that. When you're professional and you let them know what's going on, a reasonable person will understand, and they'll either hit you with a hard no or help you out. And that guy gave me some information. If I want to get further detail on it, I got to do a FOIA request. Go figure.
Yeah. By the way, just if anyone wants to get their bearings, where we are right now is at the south point of the Niagara River, and we're going to be traveling straight north from here. That's how the geography works. Lake Erie empties into the Niagara River and goes straight north to Lake Ontario.
Indeed. And if you're following along and you're on Google Earth and you're gotten north pointed, oh, where am I going? We're right under the Peace Bridge on the Canadian side.
Yeah. So I'm facing east there, but our travels along this highway during this video are northwards towards Niagara Falls.
And you can see that in the I detailed that briefly in the beginning, and I'll pull up we're
underneath the Peace Bridge right now.
Google Earth.
1920s, I think 23 or 26, top of my head. And even still with these foundations, I'm still pretty suspect about that.
Just look at the ironwork in this.
It's amazing.
Massive beams.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And every one of those rivets had to be counted in by hand back then.
Fascinating.
Yeah, my quandary is now that we've considered the actual ferocious nature of the current that we can see right now, in 1874, I need to know how that was made and planted where it is now with the alleged same current force that you see right now.
I mean, this water is just moving at probably 30 miles an hour.
I'd say, you think 30, maybe like 15, 20.
So let me underline here, because as a kid driving into school, pre-K, kindergarten, I remember seeing from the 190 thruway is on the far side of this, and the 190 is in the footprint of the old Erie Canal. I've done that before. I've always wondered, it looks like a sunken ship, and I now know that it was an intake, but the information that I found on it only details the tunnel to it, and it doesn't really, again, with the international bridge foundations, these were built around the same time. And there's conjecture about, number one, the building of this intake pier right here. It's there were ice elevators on it, and there is for sure a tunnel from our side to it that was the water feed. Now, the tunnel is plausible, but this actual pier right here, I find it very hard to believe that it was constructed in the middle of the river if it's 15 feet deep at 10, 15 mile per hour constant current in 1874. I need to know how that stone pier was built, and my sleuthing thus far has not proven anything to it. And I might be on a claim type of deal saying that may have been here as a ruin. And
if we're speaking of tunnels, and as the resident expert here on tunnels, I would not be surprised if there is tunneling all the way under the Niagara River at different spots across side to side. There's definitely tunnels, as we know, in the Niagara Falls Canada side, and as they're finding all around the world buried tunnels, pretty much nonstop. You can go into the news every few days and you'll see tunnels they're finding archaeologically or otherwise, just in construction projects. or in, synagogues in New York, that kind of thing. But there are tunnels everywhere. And the question is, were they just lost, or were they purposely hidden?
But still.
So that's my, Tartaria, Shmaria, mud flood, whatever. What's that? And I haven't been able to find, with all my research right now, anything pertaining to the actual construction of that thing right there. The tunnel to it, yes. And that's believable, plausible. It in the middle of the river, unless there was something different going on here and the water level was lower, being the current was lower, then we could talk, but that's not in the historical record.
Boom.
That was there according to the record since 1870 something?
Yes, that was built. Here's where the magician's trick of it may come into play, because this was being built at the same time as the international bridge that's downriver that we're going to go see right now. So yeah,
Boom.
Here we are arriving right now at the international railway bridge, and you can see how close, or get a sense actually how close it is to the Peace Bridge. And there you go.
They're turning that into an event-centric hotel.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's actually, I kind of like it because they're preserving the structure of the building.
There you, yeah. And the history.
Accessible.
Look at this. This is crazy. So over on our side, it's a little bit more gradual, and I could walk right down to it, and fish off of it, and that's Squaw Island right there. Now it's Unity Island, because Squaw is it is a derogatory native term for look at this little.
Let's boot on the ground right down to the side. These brick stairs. That looks old school.
Hashtag field work.
Do it. Wow, this is a little beach here.
It's a nice beach. I like that.
Yeah, it was -2 Celsius. It wasn't beach weather, but it was kind of cool.
The East Bridge too over there, and we didn't really have eyes on. But look at this old wall.
So this wall is built on something older. This is all like cobblestone cement, and then they built this brickwork on top of it.
Dude, you know what's hilarious? I could see you were looking at me stuffing in the water, but I had you're like, what are you doing? I had my neoprene fishing boots on, so we were good. As I'm editing it, I see you looking at me.
And then that's literally the foundation of this.
You can see layers of history.
And yeah, so my question is, are these things, and Neil, we're thinking cofferdams out, similar to what they say the Brooklyn Bridge, but the Brooklyn Bridge Foundation are closer to shore, and that's a suspension. And that's where Roebling comes on the scene for being real. But he died before it even started. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but you could do the first case on here, maybe the second one. But once you get it to the middle of the river, it's deeper, and the current is stronger. So to dig those in, I don't know how they do it.
I would also consider that it was done in 3 years and a shortened work season because of the brutal winters. You got to stop working at October because the storms that come off, the storms push the sage comes up, and that increases the ferocity exponentially. So you got to stop. And that he does say that they stop in the winter. The letter from the engineer to the magistrate, Canadian magistrate, said they were having a lot of problems, but they got it done in 3 years.
Yeah. Now we should also talk about that.
Okay, that's another anomaly. So as I'm going through it right now, let me bear with me. So that's another major anomaly. So we got the Peace Bridge, underneath the Peace Bridge, the water intake. Am I muted? No. The water intake and the caisson foundations for this bridge right here as well. Because in the middle of the river, not these right here, but like Neil alluded to, you could coffer-dam off the shore, but not in the middle of the river. And I do have the data paperwork on it all. But again, I'm really questioning if they can. I need to see more paperwork. And again, the Army Corps of Engineers librarian said if I want to get further, I got to do a FOIA. But I'm having a hard time buying the story behind the placement of the foundations under these piers in this river, because it's still a very torrid current, and it's very deep.
Yeah. So Dustin, just to pause for a second on that.
40
Just
miles
to,
per hour.
just to pause for a second on that. So this is kind of a good lesson on how to do sort of alternative history. You look at what the official story is. Then there's the true story. And then to get to that, it might be impossible, but you can reason through alternative explanations, possible explanations. So the official story is they sunk these caissons and built this bridge in 1870 something, just after the Civil War ended. Is that correct?
Correct. 1874 is when they finished.
Right. So like post-bellum, they just decided to build this railway bridge right here across the Niagara River. Okay, maybe it's true. We haven't found a lot of good evidence for how they built it. What is the actual truth? It could be that, but it's probably something a little different. The possible explanations, well, those pier foundations were in the river previously from a previous civilization, and they were reused. They were a new bridge was laid across it. Okay, so then the question is, how did they, in any civilization, how did they build those pier foundations? One option is they had a way of stopping the river at some point, or the terra was completely different and there was no river as we know it right there. You don't know. We don't know.
Tough for me. I think that they may have terraformed and split it up, and if what I think is going on with the waterworks, there may have been a diversion more into the lake or the Erie Canal. It's tough. I need more time with it.
Yeah,
but
people have studied. Yeah,
and in that paper that I have, the title page, it's funny how the verbiage that's used. It says the construction over the Niagara River instead of, because I don't have any questioning with the truss metal on top. If they, even this masonry, but there may have been some ruins underneath that they rested upon, the old, building upon the old foundations, but that's not in the historical record. But that's what I'm asserting might be a possibility. Allegedly, could it be?
There was, during the War of 1812, there was a crossing by the British right here to the American side. Interesting in the landscape here. I don't know what that is, but that's definitely a man-made mound.
Yep, that's on Squaw Island, Unity Island, and I wonder if it has to do with unfortunately there's a sewer processing plant right there as well. One of the black guys on the American or the Buffalo City planning. There are a couple. The other one being literally the 190 thruway that goes along the old footprint of the Erie Canal. Wow, this is amazing.
Well,
look at
it may be 0 degrees Celsius here, but we should chill out on the beach. Maybe,
yeah. Let's get out. Let's literally get out of the river, even though we got the boots. I'm getting wet. Okay. Very cool. Bushwhacking history at the International Bridge, right at the foundation of the foundations at the shore of the Niagara River. Very historic place. Very cool place. And in my opinion, a very ancient place.
Okay, so now we're going to be up at the power station.
Hydro power station. I think it was built in 1902, something like that.
Now, what you just were describing, where it was getting dilapidated, and because of the urban explorers, the interest in urban exploring or ancient stuff, what did it do? It revitalized.
So I'll just tell you a couple. So this building here, it's just along the Niagara Parkway. There's no parking here. You can't stop. So people just drove by here for decades. But this is a hydropower station at the top of the falls. You can see this is the rapids just before the falls. And this has a 180-foot shaft straight down to the bottom of the falls underneath this building. You never know it was there. Urban explorers started to learn that there was a shaft under there and tunnels. And they started going in there and doing blog posts. This is talking about 15 to 20 years ago. Making this place famous, they had to start blocking it off with security. But consequently, they've had to save this building. A lot of attention got drawn to it. So they've now contracted it out to an events to a boutique hotel company that is keeping the infrastructure in place, keeping the building itself in place. Architecturally, it's incredible.
Right.
But they're going to turn it into a place where people can get married, where there's rooms to rent out. You're right at the falls. It'll be a fortune to stay there, I'm sure, but there's going to be public viewing decks too.
And at least it won't be dilapidated anymore. Some people might have a difference of opinion about that, you know, but it's funny how urban explorers kind of revitalized the interest in stuff like this.
Totally.
This is very cool. So we're gonna go knock on the front door.
This was awesome.
Yeah, as it were. But we'll see it. Wow.
And hats off to the urban explorers. I mean, you talk about boots on the ground. I mean, we were boots on the ground outside, but these guys were going in with belaying equipment, with mining helmets in pitch dark, and coming across stuff that they can't hide anymore. But it's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
those guys risk their lives.
I'll try to share those underneath. I'll make this video available on my YouTube in the timeline, and underneath in the description I'll put some links to those actual urban explorers that went through these tunnels. Pretty cool.
Crazy ass mother effers, but
unreal. Yeah, that were pioneering doing this stuff before the interest kind of tagged along afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And, just shout out to the chat. The Bandit, what's up? Joe Cool, good to see you, man. Thanks for sharing the gravy. 7-Eleven Lucas, been around for a minute. Good to see y'all. Just Frank, what's up? Thanks for being here, y'all. All right. So I remember you went live here too. I put that in there. It was cool seeing. Oh no. How dare you? Of course.
Yeah, 1906.
There it is.
Of course, we got the 6 and the 9.
Of course. Yep. Very cool. I like the snowflakes for the effect. Well, look, the front door is wide open. Isn't that something?
No need to knock.
You going live?
We're going to go live again.
This is awesome.
Hey guys, live again with Dustin Berserker Bear. Just wait for a couple people to come in. Dustin's here with the GoPro.
This is awesome. Hey, y'all.
You gotta get used to the GoPro a little more.
But also public observation decks. How are you?
Coming out very cool.
Yeah, so they'll let people behind walk the promenades where they have the intake valves for the hydro. Oh, I'm just recording for my own. Wait, we're with CTV News. It's worth a shot. What if we're with CTV News?
This was cool.
Anyway, it's a gorgeous building. Probably give it another 5 years, we'll be able to actually go in there, and hopefully they'll be revitalizing the tunnels and the shaft underneath. But where we're going now, just a little further along, the falls is just down there, is the Ontario Power Generation Plant, which was also derelict and run down, that they've already redeveloped into a sort of touristy attraction, where they've built an elevator straight down the shaft, and then there's about a half-a-mile tunnel that takes you to the base of the falls also. So that's our next destination.
All right, so we're here.
Yeah, so by the way, just pause for a second there. So that building that we just saw is being redeveloped right now. That's why that front door was wide open and why there was a worker coming out. But that's one early 20th century hydro plant. This that we're about to go into is the one that's already been redeveloped into a tourist attraction, and is accessible right now to the public. So it's a different building, but these were the two main Ontario hydro plants, which I think powered pretty much 90% of Ontario's electricity for a good 50 to 75 years.
Gravy.
There's the falls over there. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's got the original plaque on it.
And by the way, an interesting anomaly is that the other power plant, which was called the Toronto Hydro Plant, is right at the edge of the Niagara River. This one, and they explained it to us later, but this is a good couple hundred yards inland, which wouldn't be ideal for a hydro plant because they had to bring the water, they had to channel the water in from the river to this plant and then channel it back to the river at the foot of the falls. So a bit of an anomaly there, which raises questions that we're going to propose a couple of possible alternatives to once we get to that point.
I think that's kind of the connection they were making there with the hair.
That's the name of the place, Niagara Parks Power Station. There you go.
Yeah, that's the modern name.
Yep. Shout out to doing your best Samson impression right there, holding up that Tartarian door. I love that. But you see the component. I posted this on Instagram, and I said that we'll address the reason why they had these huge doors, because there's huge components in that building. And in order to interchange out the components, as you can see here, you need big doors. I'm not saying that's the reason for all of them across the realm. In this specific instance,
So we're
it's not
at
for
the top
giant.
level right now, as you've seen
Heavy components.
at the power. Which one is this called? Like, I forget the name of it.
This is
And this is where the gravy starts, y'all.
the Ontario Power Niagara Parks Power Station, but it was originally called the Rankin. The Rankin Power Station.
So now we're taking elevators down to down the shafts.
180 feet down to the 2,200 foot tunnel that takes us just to the foot of the falls.
It's going to be awesome, and I'll have the GoPro ready and handy. Bushwhacking history.
They did put glass on that side, but hey, that's a Parks Commission, not me. So what you're looking at is the brake deck right there. Now that shaft is 135 feet tall. The turbine's at the bottom, generators are on the top floor. So that combined weight is 90 tons. So we need a lot of water to spin it. Well, look out this door. We have 11 penstocks. Each
Big door,
penstock
Joe Cole. Big door.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, now,
Crazy.
they were shipped up from Buffalo, probably Bethlehem steel. So I would imagine that guy put those rivets in his step at a very young age, back in the 1800s.
I can imagine so. That's hilarious.
80,000 gallons of water would come down that thing.
Wow. We just seen the diameter of them. That display up there you got on the floor.
Yeah, down at the far end.
Yeah, you can walk right through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Look. Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
that would be the
Now I'm coming back. We'll get a shot of the wheel pit because we're already here. Tunnel walk, 2,200 feet long and it's 4.5 mile one way.
Wow.
All right, enjoy your walk.
Thank you very much.
See those cables hanging down?
Sure do.
Stop and look up.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Guys, stop and look up.
Dude, they just give you the floor. Are you kidding me? You're just like, go. Wow. This is amazing. Look at that.
All right, straight up. That is. Oh, I got some water dripping on me.
Oh,
Crazy.
well, but wow. 169 feet.
Or 180 feet. My bad. Like you said, I'm not sure if I got it on the video, but that's those urban explorers, I think, came down that shaft possibly.
They did with ropes and pulleys and mining helmets and whatever, exploring equipment. But there was no elevator. The elevator was a year and a half ago.
Okay, that is gangster. Wow.
Yeah, and by the way, just I kind of gave away part of it there, but one of the things we were considering about this is mining, because what else uses deep shafts into the ground from the top of an escarpment, but mining operations. So you got 180 foot shaft straight down, and that's how shaft mining works all around the realm. Is you dig a shaft and then you push off in different directions to pull out the goodies.
I think I say this coming up. What are you getting at? But we'll see in the video. Hey, I appreciate everybody being here. I got 42 people watching right now. That's like the most I've ever had in a hot minute. So thanks for everybody that's here. Really appreciate that. All right, back to the vlog.
straight down, and we're at the base of the escarpment right now.
Now, see, what happened a few years ago, once they closed this place and it was running derelict, you had urban explorers belaying themselves down this shaft here.
Oh, that's where the guy probably had his ladder.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to tie that in here. Wow, that's very cool.
Now the lighting is odd, but these are red bricks. This is red brick.
Yeah, it is. Look, you can see the facade. Well, not really good lit here, but yeah, red brick. It isn't that well lit, but it is pretty cool.
This is called tailing tunnel, which is what they use to take the water that they had pumped down, that they had let drop down the what did they call them again? The big pipe. The big pipe.
We just seen it. Yeah, you just said what they
I can't
were.
remember what it's called. The big
Pen
pipe.
stalks.
Once it goes through the turbines, spins the turbines, the water just rushed out here all the way to Niagara Falls.
And we're gonna see that. We're gonna see it at the end.
Yeah. The question is, why would they need to? Why would it be crooked, and why would they need it to be all this distance when the falls is actually like over there? This is taking us all the way around.
What are you getting at?
What am I getting at? It's possible this tunnel had already existed, and they were just making reuse of it for their tailing tunnel, because it's way bigger than they would ever have needed, and it takes a strange route to where they would need to get rid of the water.
Like it was found and repurposed.
It's a theory. It's a possibility. Allegedly, maybe.
Allegedly, could it be?
Allegedly.
No claims. No claims.
I'm not saying that the hydro. I mean, obviously they installed the hydro generating equipment
When they did, right?
In the early 1900s.
The question is the infrastructure.
But it was the tunnel already here?
Right.
Was the shaft already here? Could it have been a mining operation that they just repurposed?
Ooh,
That's a possibility.
You got somebody walking towards us for scale.
And what
That's
you see
amazing.
here is millions.
Really cool. Now we're walking through it, and we're gonna come out on a patio that's right at the plunge pool at the base of the falls. It's very cool.
And if you go to the falls, guys, it's definitely worth a visit.
The phone is a little brighter than the GoPro.
There you go.
I'll get the GoPro on.
Definitely worth a visit. I'll double down on that, Neil, and say that you got to. The Canadian side is where you get the best view, and we'll see that at the end. On the top side, Canadian view of the whole panoramic of the falls. Yeah. Beautiful.
I wonder if that's service down there.
When we get eyes, I get a little American service. I call my wife.
Not down there though, on the Canadian side, I guess.
Sorry about the shaky nature of this camera. It's the phone cam. Oh, you feel that wind. Wow. Quite a walk. And like Neil was just saying, this is lined with millions of red brick. And it does have an interesting shape to it. Almost like it kind of goes out. Almost like a horseshoe, dude.
Totally.
That's kind of odd. Why would you do that? Yeah, why would
front layer coming off, and there's a second layer.
Dustin.
second layer underneath?
Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that, yo.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, this was layered. This is a fresh layer on top of old layers. So, you know, they'll tell you they did that on purpose, but who knows? I think they were just freshening up old infrastructure.
Sorry about that. I just hit the wrong button. Yeah, thanks for everybody in the chat. There's almost 50 people here. That's awesome. That's really cool, yo. Hope you get a good sense of scale.
It's pretty unbelievable to me how they were able to do that. So I have no idea. This apparently, according to the story, this was part of the 4 years of construction in 1901 to 05 to get this power plant up and running. Leads towards the possibility that this was just renovated old infrastructure, because the outer layer of brickwork is fantastic, but it's just over top of an old layer of brickwork
Sure.
that is not as precise or beautiful.
Yeah, is this brickwork? This one, or what is going on here? Is that bedrock? Yeah, what is it?
Shout out Paul Cook. He would like seeing that. He was up in the chat earlier.
Okay, this is the proverbial
There you go.
eyes on target. This was the whole goal. Huh, dude?
Yeah. How does this compare to the tunnel that you
bushwhacked under buffalo.
Well, it's a little different characteristics. The one I was traipsing through about a foot of water,
Yeah.
and this one's a little bit more grandiose, if you will. So it's a lot easier to walk through and a lot more well lit. That was a long walk, dude. When my dad came to get us, because I had to get driven back to our car, like, dude, we walked far. Under the...
More than...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is only half a mile.
Dude, yeah, we walked miles. Yeah.
Wow.
Like three and a half miles.
Yeah, here's more of the original brickwork. Look at that. There's a layer. Look at that. So they built
Now, for you melt heads, pay attention here. I don't agree with this meltology stuff, but there are some bricks sandwiched in.
up a layer of
It is a little bit dark, but maybe you'll see it.
whatever, concrete. Then they had a layer of brick.
Or is that strata?
Well,
Is
there's a flat layer of brick here.
There is.
I think this is...
Oh, there is a layer of brick in here.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a pebble concrete.
Do you think that that's red brick melted into the strata as like turning into?
Yeah, no, I think no, it was very flat and straight. So to me, it looked like there was some sort of flattened out concrete they used as a base, and then there was like a red brick walkway, and then looks like they poured more concrete on top, and then at some point they just broke right through it again. And the modern, the supposedly turn of the 20th century brickwork has fallen away here. They explained it to us later that it's because it's it's exposed to the elements more, and it's right where they broke through to build their platform. But it could also be that there's a whole bunch of different reasons, but you can definitely see layers of flat brickwork sandwiched in between big chunks of what looks like concrete.
So you're saying you don't believe in meltology?
I don't know. I kind of do in a way. I don't dismiss it, but not in this case. Not this one right here. This right here looks like a different layer of historical construction that they've papered over.
But there is clearly a layer of red brick in there, and
there are a couple layers. There are a couple layers of red brick.
Yeah,
it was odd. But I mean, what could be the possible explanations? That this just had different uses and different eras over time that were covered over, exposed, blown away, reused, and this is just a section of something that was there in the past.
Maybe for mining, maybe for portage tollage. I love that idea too, man. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we should get to that soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's finish the video though.
Let's.
And then a layer of brick was on top, so that might have been the original walk. You might have had the original walkway, and then they dug it out and painted it. See, there's 2 layers of brick. There's 7 layers of brick. There's a layer of strata or of concrete, and then there's a layer of brick. Another layer of brick. Yeah,
Kate there is right. They did build a false floor on this. Even the official story of the parks workers is that they did even out the floor with concrete and put the walkway on.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's a good call.
Good call there, and we addressed that too because in the official diagrams, this tunnel is more straight up and down. Is like they literally show that. Maybe I'll pull up the picture of it afterwards. But as you walk into it, and as I point out, it's actually more of an upside down egg shape. And like Neil said, they did flatten it out. So it used to be all round.
Well, it ends up at the Horseshoe Falls, but the roof of the cave, the shape of the cave is a horseshoe. It's an upside down horseshoe.
It's a good
and they don't have an explanation. In fact, all the workers there were like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" "Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. It is kind of horseshoe," but they don't know whether it was for load bearing purposes or what. But it's masterful masonry. Just the masonry of the overlaying red brick layer, to have it hanging upside down like that and meeting in the middle and seemingly floating in space, and none of the bricks are falling, so it looks like it's structural. It's a what's the word? But they bear in on themselves so as not to fall. It's just it's amazing masonry work.
How we doing? Wow.
This is it.
Go ahead. This is it. Dude.
That's the American Falls.
Wow, it's a little obscured by the fog and the snow cover, but there you can see the top of it over there. Oh, there it is. Dude. Wow.
Unreal.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely phenomenal. There go the Canadian Horseshoe Falls panorama. The next object this spring will be in the Maid of the Mist for you. We'll get some footage on the water. You ever do the Maid of the Mist?
No.
So Table Rock would have been up here too.
There you go.
That might be Table Rock right there. What's left of it, because it did get knocked down.
And this is the crazy building right here.
Yes, this is okay.
With a long series of open doors.
This is the anomalous one that pictures that are taken of the Niagara Falls prior to the alleged construction of this really do a good job of keeping this area out of these pictures. So I wonder if that's, you know, hey, just whatever happenstance, or is there another motive behind it? Was this building here?
But we did find that 1922 video of Ontario Power where it seemed to be this building in use.
It did seem to be this building in use. Again, it could have been found though. And I've shared a video before where a gentleman on a channel that is no longer around, the Point of Peripety, suspected that these buildings, not only on the Canadian side, but the other Sholkoff buildings downstream a little bit, if they were all here before. And of course, that gets into the mudflood Tartaria territory, but we're a little bit beyond that here, as you can see.
Hey, and if you want to pause it there for 1 second, we're gonna talk about that building soon. You can only see the corner of it from here, but when you talk about ancient, someone mentioned here Osiggy Sour Tartarian Power Station. I don't know if you're being facetious or not. Either way, it could be an old world power station, but there's also another alternative explanation we kind of came up with that might make more sense.
And I have a different outlook on this too. Like the building might have been built over it and built when they said maybe there's just not pictures of it or whatever. The tunnels underneath though, again, that brings back to the infrastructure. Yeah, maybe the building was there, but maybe the building was built over it to hide.
Yeah, and one thing you'll notice here is that's a little downriver, a little south. So as we were walking down the tunnel towards the river, at first the tunnel is pointed straight. It starts to curve right, and so it ends up here. But if that tunnel was a straight line from where we started at the power station, probably would have ended up right about in that building. So that was food for thought, and that kind of triggered something in both of us.
Right. So they could be a connected series of tunnels, right, and a part of the same shaft that we were walking through at one point in time. And again, that would speak to the infrastructure, not necessarily the buildings being here before. Keep that in mind, yo. And I've been saying that on my channel, if you don't know, pretty much since day one.
They were all here before, and of course that gets into the mudflood Tartaria territory, but we're a little bit beyond that here, as you can see. But yeah, there go the falls. Absolutely beautiful. And this plunge pool, that's another thing, a characteristic that's insane about this area, is that these falls are 150 feet. This plunge pool is 160 feet deep.
Yeah.
That's something that
Correction, actually, on that, it's only 100 feet deep, the plunge pool. I was mistaken. The plunge pool is only 100 feet deep, but still, I still think that's pretty deep for a plunge pool when the falls is only 150 feet high.
it blows my mind.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's that deep.
There it is. So after this presentation runs, it's almost over, about 5 more minutes. Again, thanks for being here, y'all. After this runs, I'll show you where we were at from the Overwatch from the Google Earth, Google Realm.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions about Niagara Falls here?
cold winter's hit. The air is losing its breath here. Great fresh water. This is
What a great time that was, man.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'm gonna try to get pictures of
And highly recommended braving the cold to get there when there's not a lot of tourists around, because it can get packed in the summer. Nowhere to park, bumping into people all day. We had it more or less to ourselves.
yeah, it was really cool.
The red brick layers. So
the first layer of brick were
Here you go.
Or yes, the first one as in going in,
Okay.
and then for regular solid bricks, you can actually see on the museum we have some of the bricks on display that they use. This section here kind of broke away because I think this was more the original ending. It ended there because you could see that this is a bit newer, these parts.
Yep.
So,
The facade.
because this was the end, this had the most amount of pressure, and that's why some of the brick broke away.
Right.
And eventually they would have added this part.
What he's referring to is the brick coming off here. So there is an argument that these tunnels were here before,
See,
and I don't know, maybe they weren't.
before Dustin was filming, I was talking to this guy as well, and he's just a young guy repeating what they tell him to say. But he said the story of building this tunnel is that, and take it for what it's worth. He said that there's 10 million bricks that were used in this construction, about 4.5 million in the tunnel, another 5.5 million in the shaft and the structure, and that they used 1,000 immigrant workers working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, for I think he said 25 cents a day or something like that, to dig out the tunnel with pickaxes and brick it. And he said approximately one worker per day died, which over the course of 4 years would be, well, you did the math, 1,200 to 1,500 workers dead.
That's insane. I can't
Yeah.
believe that when he said that. I could not believe that. That's insane. We're obviously no OSHA, but I mean, you think of the telephone gang across history, but
you'd also think that if 1,200 people died in the construction of this tunnel, it would be a story in the textbooks that kids would learn about in school.
that's the whole. Then immigrants, though, it's a very similar story to. I'm not sure if the amount of people that died, but immigrants built the Erie Canal. I believe a lot of Italian immigrants were along the Erie Canal. So it's an easy story to be able to just say, hey, we don't know, we weren't keeping the records on the immigrants, Goodness, it's funny how things cyclically repeat. All right.
This big, but and they were just added on to. What's interesting is that there is a layer of.
I mean, there you go. You could see it right there, actually. I forgot that I had a good, nice view of it. I mean, people would say that that's like melted red brick in there. I'm not saying that. I think that there's layers here. And old concrete on the bottom. It does look like it's embedded, though. So, I mean, I could understand why some people make that jump to be like, it's melted brick. Everything's melted brick.
Yeah, but like I said before, it could be that was the old level walkway. Then they filled it in with another layer of concrete for whatever reason on top, and then they've drilled through it to build this platform.
Yeah, maybe you know what? That might actually support the argument of them being here because it was sedimentation buildup, possibly allegedly. If these tunnels were here and derelict for a while, stands to reason. See, this is where you actually see a different angle as you're going through it. Okay, we're going through this right now, and that didn't come to me until right now. If these tunnels were here and derelict for a minute, there probably would be some sedimentation buildup in them. And maybe that's what it is. They had to carve back out of it.
Right.
And, when I say sedimentation, I don't mean mud flood. Things are derelict for a while and left for a while. Sedimentation comes on top of them, and then so does the flora. But these are tunnels, so it would just be sedimentation. Interesting.
A brick in there, and I can assure you that's not melted brick. Okay, it's just shoved in there, guys. Doesn't mean that the fucking wall turned into brick there. Pocket of protection here. Come on, guys.
Yeah. What's amazing is that the brickwork at the roof level it doesn't chip away anywhere. It's like held together by, I mean, either incredible mortar or just incredible masonry.
These are cool pictures. You can see the horseshoe shape of it right there, literally. It's a really good one. And then I have a nice old school picture, I think, right after this. Good juxtaposition type of deal. There you go. I love that picture.
Yeah, this is one of those Urban Explorer guys from a few years ago.
Look how much higher the water is then, too. Obviously, we talk about seiches and water coming down. I got so much more presentations to do, man. It's nuts. Thank you for that, Setneg. I appreciate that super chat. Much obliged.
Okay, we're looking at there's a transition right here from going straight up and down to inside the tunnel. It's more horseshoe shaped.
Yeah, it bows outwards towards the top.
It bows outwards, but the actual entrance is straight up and down, right? To the arch. But as you go into, it transitions literally right here. And you can see it, Neil pointed it out.
Good catch there, Neil, because I didn't see that, and it does transition from a straight up and down arch, which is what it shows in the diagrams. Again, in the diagrams, it does not show the transition from straight up and down arch to the apparently upside down egg shape. Now, that's just, I'm not saying that's direct proof of this was here before, whatever. It's just another anomaly. Okay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say they're trying to hide it, but they don't talk about it. No one seems to notice it. I'm not sure why, but to me it looks either done for a specific reason. Maybe an engineer could tell us, or they just can't explain it, so they don't want to talk about it.
Well, upside down egg shape might be good for load bearing. Again, that kind of plays into your possible portage toll.
But I don't think they do that now. I think they do. Mostly a completely round boring now in tunnels. I don't think they do any horseshoes like this.
So this
as far as I know.
The feedback comes in from either chat or afterwards. Anybody who's a structural engineer, this is kind of stuff we're showcasing. We are not experts in these areas, but we're showcasing all of it and the pantheon of it, of what we're going through as we're going through it, and our inquiries. So the feedback is.
And by the way, while we're paused, just one other feature of this tunnel: the ceiling has metal brackets all the way along. They say that was to hold a suspended walkway. So when the water was pouring through this tunnel, when it was in use as a hydro project, it was not, I guess, the water rushed through as a river, and you still had this suspended walkway from the top that I guess they could use to access the tunnel, patch it up, whatever they needed to do, or observe the water. I don't know why they need to observe the water, but the fact is there are like ironworks on the ceiling of this all throughout this tunnel.
So it goes from straight up and down to in here. It goes out a little bit.
Interesting engineering anyway, because it seems like it would make things more difficult.
It does.
But maybe it's better for load bearing.
Maybe it's better for load bearing. And the one Parks guy said that this is actually rounded out at the bottom as well. So they had to smooth it. So it all would have been rounded. And it does look like it's an upside down egg shape here. But right at the entrance, it is straight up and down. So it does transition. And that's got to be impeccable masonry. It is impeccable masonry, but man.
Incredible masonry. And to be able to line things up upside down on the roof, so that bricks are not falling, that they're bearing in on themselves, must have been some kind of magic trick. It's unbelievable what they did. Unless they had a really super strong mortar that they were just sticking to. But I don't think so, because more bricks would fall.
Yeah, I was thinking about as I was walking underneath them, like.
So they must be shaped bricks. I don't know, man.
Very interesting.
Very.
Yeah, shout out to Enslaved by Truth. EBT earlier was talking about a hard hat for some. I forget the context, but it made me think about as I was going through here. What if? I mean, goodness, as we're talking about it, you think, why don't they have you wear hard hats? I mean, do these things not fall off eventually? Just kind of weird. I mean, think about the liabilities when somebody, God forbid, someone has a red brick fall on their head from that, We'd be hearing about it on the news, that's for sure.
It's incredible. It's incredible what they've done here.
I like the lighting here. We're right under the shaft. And we're going back up topside.
Here we go, topside.
Okay, so we just walked out of the power station, and now we are literally looking at the Canadian view of Niagara Falls. And don't I have 36% left? Well, 35 now on my GoPro. I'll take a picture of that. This is amazing. I think some people would jump their barrel in right here too, maybe.
Could be.
Couldn't pay me enough. No way. You remember parts of
See, there's the old Toronto building. So that's either
that's where we were just at.
either the Niagara Parks Commission couldn't get their hands on that plot of land, or that story is a bullshit cover.
It's a bullshit cover story.
Either way,
We'll talk about it more. Well, we're presenting it right now as you're watching it, so we'll stop and we'll talk about it.
I think this is a good idea. If you eat at this restaurant, even though it's probably going to be overpriced, but
Oh well.
it's going to have a nice view. Hell of a view.
Absolutely phenomenal.
That structure over there that goes across, that bridge-like structure, is the control mechanism. They can
That's the mechanized weir.
yeah, so they can adjust the flow
And close it off. Yep.
But that's a joint international project.
Most of the flow is diverted now of this fall. I'd say close to 50% of it is.
Yeah.
Phenomenal view right here. Even though it's not really sunny out, you can still get the grandiosity of what's going on here. It's very humbling. Very humbling, ain't it?
When I was a kid, I was scared as hell of going up to the railing. I didn't feel secure.
Unfortunately, things happen. And you remember Superman 2, I think, was filmed partly at Niagara Falls.
Yeah,
and Superman saved the kid.
Yes.
Yes. Here it is, right here. It was probably filmed in Canada because it's better views.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wow, this is nuts.
There's the brink. This is insane. Insane, dude. Wow.
Hey, go green in the chat there. Yeah, we did get some hot bed. We got lunch actually after this, right in that building that you've seen just past the falls here, overlooking the falls. Great view. It's called I think it's called the Table Rock building.
That was it, yep.
This is famous Table Rock.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, there you go. I believe 156 feet. Someone asked in the chat, Philip asked, what's the fall right there? I think it's 156 feet. So that was the presentation of the video log of our tunnel visit, and I hope y'all liked it. Now let's pull up some. Bear with me while I get my bearings. And let's see here. If anybody has any questions, lay them in the chat, and we'll get going on a little bit of a presentation of where we were at as far as seeing it on the Google Earth. I'm bringing it up right now.
Oh, what we were talking about in the last segment there about what a bullshit cover story was. So, in fact, the plaque that that Dustin walked up to there was about the founding of the Niagara Parks Commission. So I guess just before the I guess in the 1890s, the Ontario government set up the Niagara Parks Commission to buy up as much of the land surrounding the falls as possible and preserve it as parks and historical sites. So they tell you. So we asked them, well, how did the Toronto power plant get that prime riverside spot to build industry? Because part of their mission was to preserve it, unlike the American side, which is full of industry, to preserve the Canadian side without industry. So they didn't have an answer for that, but they did say that the reason that the power plant, the one that we went into, I keep forgetting the name of the original name of it.
Rankin?
The Rankin plant was off the beaten path, was a couple hundred yards away from the river, was because the Niagara Parks Commission refused to let them build it right at the river.
They wanted to preserve, and I remember in my research in my real early Niagara Falls vid about Tesla and the Power Authority and JP Morgan and all that, I remember them saying that they didn't want to upset the natural and picturesque scene and beauty of Niagara Falls, and they wanted to keep industry away from it so people can view it and appreciate it more aesthetically. But then, like you said, this building that was right here was around the same time, so it doesn't make sense. That's that story.
Yeah, same time period.
Yeah. So what Neil was saying is, you can see on screen. Hopefully, you could see it. The building that we were at and walked through was all the way back here, right? And the tunnel goes all the way underneath here. Why was it so far set back and not right on top of here? The tunnel is right down here. See, this is where we came out of the tunnel. Bottom right. The little patio that we were on. Why wouldn't they put the power station right up here? Why was the tunnel so long all the way going over here? If you guys can see that.
Yeah, and the other question is so if you could slide back, I don't know, to the left a bit, or maybe it's not necessary, but the other power station is just upriver a bit, and it has a tunnel that goes straight under the river and ends up right facing the falls, like right underneath the falls. That's where their tailing tunnel goes. So why this one had to build off the river's edge and have their tunnel go around is a mystery. It doesn't make. I mean, it's possible that the environmentalists of 1896 told them that's what they have to do. I kind of doubt that.
Cancel. Yeah. So again, that's what we're saying. Were these tunnels here? And a point that Neil made before, that maybe they were for mining, but also because, let's zoom back out here and say what I think in a more 100,000-foot view. And if there was possible civilization here before the Columbian Exposition, whether it was Vikings or, like I've been showing on my Instagram, I've been reading this book. Oh, goodness. I was going to read the first chapter by Barry Fell, America, BC. Highly recommend that. Archaeologist or marine biologist who suspected that there was Phoenician presence here, 1000 BC, even to Celts here. And this book that is kind of an overview of it. I'm reading through it right now. Consider that possibility. The front way into the interior was down the St. Lawrence Freeway, okay? And you had to negotiate. You would have to negotiate Niagara Falls in order to get into the interior of the Northeast. And we're told this if you look up the Beaver Wars, where the European influence came through this area. There was the Iroquois. A lot of battles happened because of the French, the English, and even the Dutch vying for this area because it was very lucrative for fur pelts. And this is the pinch point. So whoever held Niagara River, I've been over this before. There was a tribe called the Wenro, but whoever held the Niagara River would be, this is the pinch point, and this is why there's a portage. And another possibility of what Toronto Joubert is saying, maybe not mining also, but if you controlled this, you would actually toll it to have people get by into the interior. You had, again, in order to get to these fur pelts, you got to go through these lakes until the Erie Canal came around in 1825. But what I would argue, and what I'm getting at here, is very long-winded explanation of if there was the civilizations that Barry Fell cites, this would have been a very lucrative pinch point, very similar to Constantinople in Europe. And I might argue that in another time, this area may have been as significant as Constantinople because of the pinch point, because of the falls, the cataracts. In order to get in here, you got to go through it. So
yeah, and let's tie that together with what we just saw. So let's zoom in again to the pinch point between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. So if you can get to Lake Erie, you've got the whole, the current Rust Belt, but you got the whole interior of the Great Lakes at your disposal.
And the Mississippi you can get to.
You can even get to the Mississippi. So controlling that pinch point was key. And if someone controlled it and had some technology, like Dustin said, you could toll it. Now, what's the important part of getting up to Lake Erie? It's the height, right? It's a 150-foot drop. How do you get up? You can try to drag your goods up the side of a cliff, but it's literally cliff sides, and you can show it. There's really no good portage up the cliff. Or you dig a shaft and a tunnel and have some kind of elevator technology. Could be as simple as pulleys that can take your stuff. You're gonna show the video of that supposed original power plant at the foot of the falls. That could easily be a port where you port in like a customs port. You port in your boats right into those windows, those big windows. There's a tunnel that goes straight to the elevator shaft. Elevator operated with pulleys, pulls the stuff up, you pay your toll, and away you go. Bring your goods in to and from the interior of North America.
Okay, you would have to, coming in from the St. Lawrence, this is a wall that you have to hit and either have a portage up it, okay, because this is the Niagara Escarpment. This is what formed the falls, allegedly, okay? I'm not going to get into it. You should know it geographically. You've been following with me along this far. You could deduce what's going on here with the escarpment. But you're gonna reach this. Now, if these tunnels were here being used for either mines or whatever, or they could have been used to portage some of these, I don't know, Viking longships up, possibly, maybe. And the anomalous building here. Now, all these things are water tunnels, y'all. And I'm having a hard time finding information about where these are. Now, what Neil just said, we're going to see a.
Now you zoom in on that. Just zoom in as tight as you can on that.
I'm pulling up the silent video.
So what if this building here went flush to the ground, and those were giant windows, giant port windows that boats could go into and unload their goods. And this rock buildup in front of it is just like you said, overgrowth from the years. People, whatever, say some sort of war caused them to shutter that building, push rocks in front of it, whatever. It could be rocks from the falls that just built up there over the years. But if that was some kind of customs port building with tunnel, and like we said, the tunnel right now, you can see where it ends. But what if that tunnel was straight back in the day when it was originally built? It would have gone straight to this building. So what if you got what if you so if you could if the ancient civilization here, and this is again just speculation, we don't have proof of this, but if that was used as a portage building with tolls, warehouses could even have been in there, and they had an elevator system up those shafts to the interior, that's your ancient civilization of Niagara. Now, why they would want to hide that, who knows? Maybe because they conquered that civilization and they didn't want it to have a history. But in any case, this is a really interesting video here that we found from the Ontario government.
You could so you can actually see there's water going through these tunnels, right? Great find. And this is the kind of stuff I'm curious about.
It's about 1922.
Here we go. This is a good one. I think this is the one from the side. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Check it. Now, look at, there's that, I can't find the data on where these tunnels go to. And like Neil said, it could be, look at, there's even water coming out from that thing. Now, this is a side view of the other side of that anomalous building.
And by the way, just to make it clear, what we're suggesting as a possibility is that that hydro technology was a way of repurposing this old tunnel and shaft technology, reversing it essentially, where perhaps in the past it was used to transport goods through and then up an elevator system. They reversed it. They put in generators. They put water current through it, and they turned it into electrical generating stations. It's a logical explanation. We don't know if it's obviously don't know if it's true, but it's a logical possibility.
When you consider the possibility, when you consider that civilizations are built upon the ruins of other ones, that's certainly a feasible explanation. But it's not,
and especially given the timelines that they said they built these plants. Tesla got his patents in 1899, and they constructed the entire things in about 4 years. It strains credulity.
Yeah, unbelievably fascinating and anomalous, to say the least. And let's see if we got anybody having questions in the chat. And I appreciate you all being here. There's a lot more people here than I thought was going to be. A 51 still looking. So
Kate Emma has a very very good observation that the iron holding lamps or lighting are on the top that I was talking about, the ironworks that they said held a walkway. The other option is that it assisted in some sort of pulley system to pull skids of goods through the tunnel to the elevator area.
Yeah, so consider if there was ancient civilizations here on top of the natives, right? Again, I'm citing Barry Fell and his work. Look into that, gentlemen. What I see up here at Buffalo, this is, again, what you see on the screen is Niagara Falls. What I see up at Buffalo are, I think, ruins of ancient earthworks and waterworks. And I was going to present that here, but this is going to have to be for another episode, because this is just, number one, the area is so big, Western New York in general, and then the river from Buffalo, the bridges, the foundations. I have so much more work to do on that, and then including what we're talking about here. So I know I kind of move at a snail's pace or like a locomotive pace, but I always get to the destination. So keep that in mind. And again, I appreciate you guys all being here and watching this.
Dustin's he's like the Buffalo Bills of research.
Hey,
he's going to take 100 years to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, how dare you! But you're Toronto, so you're a Bills fan also, right?
Yeah, I've been waiting all my life.
Hey, I know. Speaking of, hold on. Oh man, I got some Bills here. This will be kind of funny. Okay, here. Okay.
Killer.
Here we go, Jimbo.
Killer. All right, that's a better one right there.
You know what's even cooler? I shook that man's hand, and I got his autograph right here. That's Jim Kelly's autograph. You can see it.
Nice.
It says, to Dustin, Jim Kelly Hall of Fame, 02. And what a legend. So I think that, this will be an okay place to curtail this. I have so much more to share and present, but that'll be in next upcoming videos. And I'm also going to be doing another interview with local author and friend of mine, Mason Winfield, Shadows of the Western Door. Keep an eye out for that. That will be coming out soon. This is another good video or another log to go off of about going places in Western New York. Not only does it have history like Barry Fell sites, but it's pretty creepy. It's got an eerie essence to it, the Western door. And this book does a good job of categorizing that. And it's similar to like the British Isles. You know, it's got that eerie, mysterious vibe to it. And I like that as well. So that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about with Mason. And with that, again, Mason is his name, Mason Winfield. He knew Barry Fell, actually, and as I'm a fan of Mason's, Mason was a fan of Barry Fell. And I almost kind of feel like I'm carrying the torch of what Barry was doing through my rapport with Mason Winfield. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be interview number 2 with Mason Winfield coming up soon. And I'll still be doing some readings from my Civil War books and my American history books coming up. I appreciate your patience on that. But let me go back into the chat. And yeah, Neil, do you have any final thoughts as to, again, we got a lot more work to do, but I broke the ice about getting up there.
Yeah, I got 2 things that just occurred to me. One is the sort of irony or maybe the little kind of inside joke that they've turned what was once the center of trade and industry in perhaps an old world civilization into an amusement park, essentially. Right? It's a different kind of industry. It's a very second half, post-war 20th century industry, but they transformed it because there was very little sightseeing there until post-war, and then it just exploded. The other is the fact that they obviously, urban explorers and everybody knew that there were hydro tunnels there, but we know there's got to be more tunneling in the area. And my speculation is there's probably tunnels that go across the river from the U.S. to the Canadian side and vice versa. Who knows? Used for smuggling at some point, used for trade at some point, used for transport, whatever. But I thought that there was, and this is an interesting one. If anyone wants some old Hollywood gravy, there was a movie in about 1978 called The Last Embrace with Roy Scheider. Not a very well-known movie, but the climax of the movie took place at Niagara Falls. And to make a long story short, it appears either it was a continuity error or it was a little truth drop. It appears they made it seem like there's tunnels that go from the U.S. side to the Canadian side. It's the continuity of the film. It's strange. The whole film's a little strange, but that was an interesting little possible truth drop, and I think there's got to be some truth in it. I think there's a lot more tunnels where this is just the tip of the iceberg, is my opinion.
I agree. And this is where Harriet Tubman is famous for having the crossover, the Underground Railroad. Is that like a double entendre? Who knows? But I can guarantee that, like I said in the front of this video, that intake up at Buffalo, I know for sure there's a tunnel halfway at least through the Niagara River. And that's confirmed empirical data, citable. And I've shared it before. But again, I got to categorize it and go through it all back over and present it in another package for you another time. So
and tunnels are in. And here's another thing about tunnels. Like there's this show. It's actually a Canadian produced show called Secret Nazi Bases. Okay, we're talking about so they do hour episodes on all the Nazi infrastructure. So many of those episodes are about underground tunnels and cities that supposedly the Germans of the 1930s built. Now, they're all incredible, but it's impossible for all of these to have been built in one decade. And so again, it just leans to the fact that there has to be tons of tunneling throughout this realm that is there to be discovered and has either been hidden or just lost, and gets brought into the zeitgeist. It seems to be getting more and more into the zeitgeist these days, especially with all the tunneling news that we see around the world. But definitely interesting, fascinating stuff.
I was going to show this for, very fascinating. And again, all the work that we have to do piles up for years to come, literally. And again, back up at the head of the mouth of the river, Niagara. I did this the other day. As a matter of fact, I was on this pier walking underneath this bridge, International Bridge, as you just seen, and the Peace Bridge coming up. That's the old Erie Canal. The day before that bridge unfortunately collapsed. It's kind of weird. We were doing all the verbiage that we're talking about and the terms and everything about caissons and piers, that's all in the zeitgeist now. It's just funny how things work out because of that unfortunate accident. And I've been on the tail of this stuff for a hot minute, and now all those terms are out in the zeitgeist because of that. And it's weird. I was doing this the day before it happened. And
By the way, another thing that I forgot to mention perspective-wise about the building of tunnels. So Ontario Hydro has replaced those power stations, obviously, over the past 20 years. And their new station, it's called the Sir Adam Beck Station. It's a little downriver, but the water intakes are further north past the old Toronto Power Station. They're like 10 kilometers long or something. But with the most sophisticated, modern tunnel boring equipment, it took them 7.5 years to dig a tunnel from the Sir Adam Beck Station to the intakes upriver. So to compare that with 4 years of pickaxers
from immigrants.
If immigrants with pickaxes to 7.5 years with the latest and greatest, literally the best Austrian-made tunnel boring machine in the world in history, that still took 7.5 years.
And here's the deal. Now, the gentleman I just cited, Barry Felt, modern historians don't like him because he's so far out of left field with his assertions and hypotheses. And that's kind of the boat that we're in, but it's unfortunate because we're not trying to be antagonistic to the mainstream or whatever. Yes, it is a bottleneck. I've said that before, but we're not trying to antagonize. We're trying to see a level playing field because these are legitimate questions, because we are showing empirically shortcomings in the data that don't add up or the information is missing. So we are not shooting in the dark here, and we are coming with some questions and anomalies that have some backup and some oomph to them. And again, I'm not just sitting behind my keyboard here. As you can see, I get out in the field, hence field work, and I walk on what I research and show it. And I use my books. So if I can promote anything, and if anybody learns something as they watch what I do, I'm humbled and I'm grateful for it. But also, I get out from behind the keyboard and get out there. And I would, day one, I've been saying that, and I'm blessed to have a nice library for my family, and people have gifted me books. Shout out to Danny, Malachi Crunch, West Side Samurai. My man will get back out there. But yeah, look at how cool this is. I'm grateful that I had this in my backyard and the falls. But look at that river moving, y'all. I'll put the question to you, people who are interested in this. Do you think that type of work could be done? I've done my due diligence on it. What do y'all think? Pulling up the data. So I thought this would be cool, extra bonus footage to see. That's moving water. And me and Neil on the front side of this video, we're on the other side right over here, walking under the Peace Bridge on the Canadian side. So I figured I'd round it out by doing some GoPro footage here. And I'll play it and shout back into the chat. Sorry if you guys can't hear my voice. I got to talk into the mic a little bit more.
Yeah, what you were saying about boots on the ground is so important. Primary research so important. You can't, historians. And I have a history degree. I have a 4-year history degree from University of Western Ontario. What you learn in history is books. You study books primarily. 99% of what you study is learning what's been written. And as the great philosopher, what's his name, the goofus from the Bush administration, who ran the wars. What's his name again? Not Cheney. Cheney's buddy. Rumsfeld. The great philosopher Rumsfeld. He said, you got your known knowns,
Skeletor.
Your known unknowns, and your unknown unknowns, right? So if you're studying history, there's you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what is unknown, and you don't know. But when you get out, what I'm trying to say is when you get out boots on the ground, you start to piece together some unknown unknowns, and then you can use that to start to fill in logically the gaps in the written historical record.
Great way to put it, because you might not see something, as you're looking through pictures. And I'm not being antagonistic. I don't need to keep on using that word to people who do that. Okay, if you're going to research, that's great. I have the ability to get out, and I'm in the vicinity for it, and I promote it, right? And you might not see something on a picture that you do see when you get out there and walk on it.
Yeah.
So, thanks for underlining that. For sure.
So if you're out there also in a different area, get your boots on the ground and start doing some of this stuff if you're interested in what you see here, because this kind of thing is everywhere, especially in urban areas. They're urban areas for a reason, because they are identified as great trading places or great infrastructure or resource places, right? Which means that what was once has always been. So if we've identified them as great places to build a city, well, centuries and centuries before, same thing.
Exactly.
And so there's layers and layers.
That's a perfect way to put it, because you know what? I've the Meat Puppets have a song, in the backwater stirring. There's some things that will never change. You could rearrange, but some things stay the same. And if you have the eyes to see it, you can see it and pick up on it. It's like reading Matrix code, kind of, sort of, if you will. But yeah, if the chat's not working, I'd say just reset. And I think Shinto, Sasaki, can you guys give details again on how to tour the tunnel? Oh,
yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
I can just tell you. So the tour, the tunnel that's open is called the Niagara Parks Hydro Station, and you just walk up to it. It's open 7 days a week, and you pay I think it was $36 Canadian, which in US dollars is like 20 something. So it's very reasonable, and it's all open to the public anytime.
Gracious host too. Neil, you took care of my ticket. I appreciate that, bro.
No worries. And then the Toronto Hydro Station, which is under construction now for redevelopment. Hopefully they're going to be opening that tunnel too. I hope that's part of the reconstruction, because that one has a tunnel that goes straight under the falls. So you would get to the end of the tunnel and the falls would be right in front of you.
Yeah. There you go. I highly recommend, if you're around this area, Western New York, go see the falls. And if you can, get into Canada. You got to see it from the Canadian side. But what you see on the screen right now is actually the mouth of the Niagara River near Buffalo, Black Rock, 36 miles away from. That's the thing. The Niagara River is 36 miles in length, and it descends 333 feet in elevation. And rivers by discharge. I'm going to end it on this. Rivers by discharge, U.S. The Niagara River is in its own class, and I've said this also before, but let's take a look at the data, okay? It's seventh in the U.S. as far as discharge, but look at this is why I say it's in its own class. It's 36 miles long. The next one up that has 200,000 plus, which the Niagara River does, is 137 miles. Then you got like thousands of miles, right, and hundreds of miles. Niagara River has a flow over 200,000 discharge, under 40 miles in length. That's insane. That's insane. And categorically, it is a strait, I guess, because it connects two bodies of water. But it's like a river and a strait.
And Dustin, the next two on that list are very close. The Detroit River and the St. Clair River. Those are the two rivers connecting Lake Huron with Lake Erie.
There you go. Yeah, they're from the same basin of the Great Lakes Basin, right? But that's the thing. Niagara breaches the 200,000. And that's why the ferocity of it is just, it's very dangerous, number one. People have lost their lives, and they do every year in this water. It's unbelievably dangerous. So, yeah, this is insane. And, yeah, shout out to Not a Bot there. I didn't get to showcase his data that he sent to me, but I'll get to that, Not a Bot. I didn't forget you, brother. And G, good to see you, says, yes, it's 36 miles long and descends 333 feet. Illuminati confirmed. Oh, geez. Funny.
That's the OG right there.
Yep. So, yeah, Niagara River, it's got over 200,000 cubic flow rate, under 40 miles. It packs a punch. It's kind of fitting to how Buffalo is. We're always the underdog, you know what I mean? But, kind of like me too, man. you know, I might have a smaller channel, but I throw with the big boys. You know, that's kind of how Buffalo is. So I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, everybody. That was the presentation of our video log and anomalies in Niagara Falls and along the Niagara River. And I got a lot more work to do. I'll be able to get into Canada now. So my stomping ground kind of just doubled. And we'll be doing more together, Neil.
Right on. Absolutely. Thanks for everybody for sticking around too. We started off in the 40s. We got 57 watching now. So everybody stuck around strong. So you're doing something right there, Dustin.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I never had that many people watching. I don't think I can remember from my memory. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And I appreciate it. And there's a lot more work to be done. Bushwhacking history here in the Western Door. Thanks again.
All right, man.
We're going to end it there. Thanks, Neil. Hang around afterwards. We'll touch base. And everybody, thanks again in the chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your support. Keep it sleuthing, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed, everybody.
God bless.